Is AI bubble is about to burst? In this video, we will find out what the heck just happened during Nvidia's earnings results and why stock is dropping like a rock afterwards. We will go through the latest breaking news announcement from Sam Altman and how does it affect Nvidia stock. And finally, we will answer the question, is Nvidia in front of a cliff and preparing to drop 90% from here? What's going on, investors? Hopefully guys are doing well out there. Welcome back to another video. Starting from the press release here, Nvidia reported earnings for the fourth quarter ending January 26, 2025 was $39.3 billion, up 12% for the previous quarter and 78% year-on-year. Non-GAAP earnings per diluted share was 89 cents, up 10% quarter-over-quarter and 71% year-on-year. For the fiscal 2025, revenue was $130.5 billion, up 114% year-over-year. Non-GAAP earnings per diluted share was 2.99, up 130% year-over-year. Executives are saying demand for the Blackwell is amazing as reasoning AI adds another scaling law. Increasing compute for training makes models smarter, and increasing compute for long thinking makes the answer smarter. We have successfully ramped up the massive scale production of Blackwell AI supercomputers, achieving billions of dollars in sales in first quarter. AI is advancing at light speed as agentic AI and physical AI set the stage for the next wave of AI to revolutionize the largest industries. Now, so far everything looks good. Triple-digit growth, high double-digit growth, revenue is growing, earnings is growing. What's wrong? Low double-digit revenue growth and also the growth for the data centers is obviously disappointing Wall Street. The expectations is sky high for this company. Everybody knows it's a cyclical company, so everybody wants to understand when the music is gonna stop. Continuing with the metrics here, for the revenue, it's 12% quarter-over-quarter and 78% year-over-year. Gross margin was down quarter-over-quarter and year-over-year. The outlook for the next year from a perspective of gross margin is also quite disappointing. Operating expenses up 11% and 53% year-on-year. Operating income up 10% quarter-on-quarter and 73% year-on-year. Net income is up 10% quarter-on-quarter and 72% year-on-year. And diluted earnings per share are up 10% quarter-on-quarter and 71% year-on-year. Coming to the outlook here, Nvidia is expected from the revenue perspective to have $43 billion plus or minus 2%. For the gross margins, 70.6-71%. This is significantly lower because Nvidia had north of 75% gross margins. So this is a question the Wall Street also need to reply. Is gross margins continue to go down, or this is just while the ramping of Blackwell is gross margins is having the headwinds? So this is another question. And here on this slide you can see the growth is slowing down. After the ChatGPT was announced, after the AI revolution started, the Nvidia's growth just skyrocketed 131%, 278%, 400%. So this part, Nvidia basically 10x here. And now you can see that the growth is coming down, and later the growth will be 10%, 20%, or even negative growth, because everybody knows Nvidia is, in the end of the day, is a cyclical company. So we can see that obviously Intel is losing market share, negative growth here, and not participating in AI revolution. Anyhow, for the AMD, it was quite slow. Here, Nvidia started to take off. Meanwhile, AMD as a red line was taking time to catch up, but now we can see that the AMD is actually catching up and the growth is approximately the same for these two companies, even though the revenue, from the revenue perspective, Nvidia is making significantly higher revenue from the data centers business than AMD. Now let's break down Nvidia's market platforms and see where the company is making money in financial year 2025. As you can see, Nvidia's business is heavily dominated by one segment, data centers. Data center revenue hit $115.2 billion, making up a massive 88% of the Nvidia's total revenue. And just look at 108 compounded annual growth rate over the 5 years. Insane level of expansion. Next up we have gaming, Nvidia's bread and butter for years. It pulled $11.4 billion, accounting for only 9% of total revenue. I remember gaming segment was close to 30% of Nvidia's business just 3 years ago. Moving to professional visualization, the professional visualization segment, which covers Nvidia's RTX GPUs, workstation, and Omniverse software, generated $1.9 billion, just 1% of total revenue. And finally, automotive, an exciting emerging sector for Nvidia, brought $1.7 billion, making 1% of total revenue. But what's interesting is 19% CAGR. Nvidia announced many partnerships with leading car companies. So what's the key takeaway from this slide? Nvidia is not longer just a gaming company, it's an AI powerhouse. Data centers are driving the business, and with AI adoption surging, this trend isn't slowing down anytime soon. Coming to the income statement of Nvidia, I put the score of A, did not put A plus because the relatively slow growth quarter over quarter, but here everything is amazing. The revenue grew from 22 billion to 39 billion. Meanwhile, the cost of revenue just grew from 5 billion to 10.6 billion. So we achieved a growth of 17 billion in terms of the revenue. Meanwhile, the cost of revenue grew just 5 billion, which leading to the gross profit coming from 16.7 billion to 28.7 billion. Absolutely unbelievable numbers. Operating expenses, research and development increased slightly, and meanwhile the sales, general administrative just increased $200 million. It's relatively easy to work in the sales department of Nvidia because everybody wants that chips. Total operating expenses coming from 3 billion to just 4.6 billion. Operating income is skyrocketing north of $24 billion and leading to net income coming north of $22 billion. Net income per share for the basic increase from 51 cents to 90 cents. That's a beautiful income statement. I think many companies would dream of this kind of income statements. Coming to the balance sheet, and here I definitely put A plus. For the cash and cash equivalents grew from $25.9 billion to $43.2 billion. Account receivables went north of $23 billion. Inventories is also increasing. I'm not worried about the increase in inventories. Sometimes if retailer is increasing the inventories, we would worry that maybe they could not just sell, maybe they need to drop the price to sell these inventories. But for the Nvidia, I'm not worried because it seems like they're just ramping up their Blackwell, so they need to meet the high demand, so they are just accumulating inventories as much as they can because they know that in the future they need to meet this kind of demand. So not worried about the growth in inventories here. Total current assets went north of $80 billion, bringing total assets to $111.6 billion. Now I would like to pay your attention again for $43 billion in cash equivalents. What does Nvidia do with this cash? There are a few options. The first option is acquisition. With the new administration, probably the acquisition will be a little bit easier than before. Another is buying back shares. I'm not sure buying back shares is the best idea at current levels, at current valuations, even though later we will check the valuations is not crazy. The only question is when the growth is going to decelerate strong enough so that the bear market will start for these cheap stocks. The third is dividends. I am not really sure this is the best scenario as well. From the perspective of Nvidia's management, dividends, Nvidia is not at the stage to send back cash to shareholders. I think they have so many opportunities, so many total addressable market to capture. So probably they need to reinvest this cash into the R&D and also probably try to make some acquisitions which would help them capture the new markets. Operating income is skyrocketing. Just think about it. In 2021, Nvidia was making $6.8 billion in operating income. And in 2025, just 4 years ago, Nvidia is printing $86.7 billion. How crazy is that? So in this case, the 10x of the company's stock actually makes sense because operating income is just skyrocketing. As I mentioned before, the only question, when this gonna slow down? Operating cash flow coming to $64 billion, free cash flow of $60 billion, a lot of cash, and cash balance is skyrocketing to $43 billion. This is the slide I visualized all the big tech players, and Nvidia is here. So you can see in 2020, the cash from operations was close to $6 billion and now $64 billion. So it's north of 10x of their cash from operations. Meanwhile, all the other big tech is higher, close to 125 billion. Only Meta Platforms around 91 billion, a little bit lower than other competitors. Nvidia right now is top 3 company by the market cap. The question is, here you have 6, 28, 64. So will there be 124 and then 180, or we will go to 75, 90, and then maybe starting to decelerate? This is the main question you need to answer if you are invested in Nvidia stock. Nvidia Omniverse is revolutionizing manufacturing and robotics with physical AI. AI models that understand, interact with the physical world. This tech powers robotic systems like autonomous vehicles, industrial robots, and humanoids, transforming factories, warehouses, and roads. The scale is mind-blowing. By 2025, it could enable 100 million cars, 10 million factories, and 200,000 warehouses. Nvidia uses DGX systems to train the AI, Omniverse to simulate and test it, and AGX hardware to run the AI software on robots. Enterprises license Omniverse for $4,500 per GPU per year, driving efficiency and innovation across industries. By the way, this $4,500 is totally recurring revenue, which makes Nvidia business model less cyclical. So this is quite bullish. I like it. Now, this is the breaking news from Sam Altman. This news broke Thursday, February 27th. GPT 4.5 is ready. It has good news and bad news. Good news, Sam Altman is saying, it's the first model that feels like talking to a thoughtful person to me. Bad news, it's a giant, expensive model. We really wanted to launch it to the Plus and Pro at the same time, but we've been growing a lot and we're out of GPUs. We will add tens of thousands of GPUs next week and roll out to the Plus tier then. Hundreds of thousands coming soon, and I'm pretty sure you all will use every one we can rack up. Now you think about it, okay, Sam Altman is saying expensive model, giant model, we will add tens of thousands GPUs and later hundreds of thousands GPUs. Seems bullish, no? The problem here is he's later saying this isn't a reasoning model and won't crush benchmarks. It's different kind of intelligence and there is a magic to it I haven't felt before. Really excited for people to try it. So the problem here is the market is scared the price for this model, for the training of this model is growing exponentially. But what if the increase in benchmarks is not growing exponentially? So this is the problem. I did not yet try this new model. I will definitely take time to try it and research more about it. But this is the main worry of the market. What if we breach the wall? This is the main question we need to keep in mind and answer later. Now coming to the technical segment of the show, here Nvidia had a correction. As I mentioned, Nvidia is a cyclical company, so from time to time this kind of 70% down is happening. And then the ChatGPT was released here in 2022 and we started the uptrend. We grow 13x, and after that right now you can see this is the monthly candle. On the monthly candle, we can register that now this uptrend is officially broken. Now, what does it mean? This is first of all signal for traders that probably the up to the right is finished and probably some consolidation will be needed. I am not sure this thing is going to retest 32 or some kind of stuff like this, because if we check the projections for the next year, January 2026, the growth is projected to be 50%, then 26%, then 12%, 27 times earnings for 50% growth seems not expensive to me. And then 21 times earnings for 26% growth, also not very expensive to me. The question is, what if this minus 4% could be earlier in 2028, 2027, or even somehow in the 2026? So this is the main question about when the revenue starts to decelerate, because as I mentioned many times throughout this video, the Nvidia is a cyclical company. So sooner or later, this 70% will come. But for the long term, Nvidia is just a beautiful business model. And what Jensen did with this company is absolutely unbelievable. Which kind of returns was provided to investors? The crazy, crazy returns. I'm quite bullish for the founder CEO. The Jensen is still very, very motivated, and the TAM of this company is absolutely unbelievable. Autonomous vehicles, robotics, robotics in the warehouses, robotics in a personal, like a B2C for people. The robot is helping you to do the laundry, helping you to cook, helping you to wash dishes and stuff. So I think the future for this company is bright. The only question is, are you long term? So if you're long term, probably it's safe. If you are for the short term, the volatility will be there. The Nvidia is quite high beta company. It's moving really fast. And finally, answering the question of this video, is AI bubble about to burst? My personal opinion that no, but probably it will be something similar to the internet bubble, when the internet was actually the future. Everything was right. The problem was the company was overpriced and the company just reset the multiples. For Nvidia, I don't think it's too overpriced, but probably with decelerating growth, it could crash up to 50%. I could see it. But in the end of the day, this is the huge total addressable market. And I think we are living in one of the best times to be alive and invested in the stock market, because we are going through the AI revolution, which could be big, and generational wealth could be made here. Of course, before investing in any company, you do your own research and own due diligence. I'm quite excited for all these markets, autonomous vehicles, robotics. I'm also invested in multiple other companies, which I believe will have significant tailwinds from the robotics. That's all I have for today's video. Please let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the AI bubble and is it going to burst? I appreciate your time watching this video. Happy investments, and I see you in the next video.